In this video, we're going to talk about kind of the progression over time of how stadiums went from being primarily built and financed from by the owners to more of a partnership with the cities. Okay. So, in the 19th century, teams entered, exited, and moved frequently in the different sports, mostly baseball. And a lot of that was from small towns to large cities. And in doing so, they were able to increase their financial stability since they have a bigger market to pull from. Between 1903, when the Baltimore Orioles left for New York and then eventually became the Yankees, and 1953, when the Braves left Boston for Milwaukee, no major league team entered, left, or changed cities. So there was stability within there. When the Brooklyn Dodgers, however, moved, they were the most successful and most profitable team in the National League. And the owner at the time, owner O'Malley, this was just a simple case of maximizing profits. So when you look at kind of the periods of new stadium buildings, there's four eras or periods to look at. The first goes way back to 1890, and it's the Entrepreneurial Period. During this period, you had baseball owners, and it was the owners that would build and operate their own ballparks. Now, this is in contrast to football, where the teams lacked the money and the fans to construct their own stadiums, and basketball did not even have a stable league. So it was mostly baseball construction going on during this period. Now, almost all the facilities that were built during this period had two common features. First, they had the word stadium in the title. Or things, if it wasn't stadium, anything like field, so Wrigley Field, Shrine Park, and that was to reflect the pastoral origins of baseball. So that was the first feature. The second one was most of the ballpark, with the exception of Fenway Park, bared the name of the owner of the team for which the stadium was built. Okay. So again, you had, with the names, you had the word stadium or field or park, and the second was, for the most part, the stadium names had the owner's name. So that was the first period. The second period was known as the era of the civic infrastructure, and that went from the 1950s to early 1980s. Now, during this time, you had cities that were bidding against each other to either attract new franchises or retain the current ones they had. Now, because of this competition, the public sector, the local governments, end up bearing the full cost of a lot of this funding. Okay. So this period started in 1953 with the construction of Milwaukee's County Stadium and Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, and this lasted into the 1980s to the construction of the Minneapolis Metrodome. Now, many of the stadiums that were built during this period were named for the cities or counties that funded them, or the distinct geographical features, or took on some patriotic names. So that was the second period. The third era is the private-public partnership. So this began after 1980 and significantly accelerated starting in the 90s, and it lasted until at least 2007. So during this period, local and state governments funded about 2/3 of construction costs, with the teams and the leagues paying the rest of the amount. Now, with the decrease in public subsidies, teams would often seek out new sources of income to bring money in, since they had to pay more costs to build the stadiums, and they would do this through things like naming rights, letting different corporations put their name on the stadium. So finally, we have the fourth era, which was the start of the Great Recession, 2008 to present. So between 1989 and 2007, The North American cities initiated an average of about 6 major stadium or arena projects every year in professional sports franchises. So there was a real boom of construction of these new facilities during that period. Now, with the previous downturn, state and local governments experienced a lot of financial difficulties. And because of this, there was a lot of stadiums that were either under construction when the downturn hit, that had to slow or be delayed or be canceled altogether, while there are others that were just delayed or canceled in general. Right? And so because of this, the pace of the new stadiums kind of came to a crawl. Now you have seen in recent years a little bit more new construction, but it's still well below the 1980 to 2007 period. So those are the four major areas when it comes to stadium building.